Hey, rookies, welcome to week 8. Hey, if you pick the Panthers, Commanders, and Bears to win, send us an email. Would love to have you on the show. What a week, Jeff. I went 2-1 on free picks and 4-4 overall. How'd you do this week?
I went 1-2 on free picks and 6-6 overall.
It was a tough week, Jeff. This was a tough one for me. I thought I had great picks, and it just a couple of games didn't go my way. Hey, my key takeaways, rookies, for week 7 is that Murray got his number 1 receiver back, and that was a big difference maker. Obviously, we didn't bet that Thursday game, but man, that team looks a lot different. And it looks like the old guys in the league are having a difficult time communicating with the younger players on the teams. You know, Jeff, I feel like the Bucks and the Pack need to get some HR folks to come in and talk about how we talk to each other. I'm not sure these older quarterbacks are actually communicating very effectively with their players and the guys on their team. And I think that's going to be something that we're going to see going forward. We also had some key injuries with Hall going down in New York, Williams for the Chargers. And then today we found out that Chase for the Bengals has got a hip problem, and he may be out 4 to 6 weeks. And, you know, this week we got some quarterback or coach-induced quarterback controversies, both in New England and some other places. And I think the Saints have a controversy going on with Dalton and Winston. You know, who knows? But the boys, thank goodness, avoided an owner-induced quarterback controversy last week against the Lions. Dak looked a little rusty to begin with, but then he smoothed it out and got it done at home. What were your key takeaways from week 7, Jeff?
After another odd week, I went back and I did some looking, and through 7 weeks of the season, 108 games, 84 of them have been within 1 score at some point during the fourth quarter, and 45% of those 108 have ended in less than a 1-score game. All of those numbers are the closest in at least the last 20 years that I could go back and find. So
wow,
this has been a very unusual season, very close point spreads, and then overall the margin is like 9 points, and that's also the closest in I think 50 years. So it's been an unusual season, very close games.
Yeah, those fourth quarter teams that are getting it done, like the Giants. Wow, just getting it done in the fourth quarter. But then you see other teams like the Ravens that aren't, and you got to wonder how that plays out. That's a great stat, Jeff. I wasn't tracking that. Thanks for sharing that one. Hey, we got 4 teams coming off buys: the 5-1 Bills, the 3-3 Rams, the 5-1 Vikings, and 6-0 Eagles. The 2 bye teams this week are the 5-2 Chiefs and the 4-3 Chargers. The Bolts definitely need some time to get healthy for a post-bye run to the playoffs. Of the 4 bye teams last week, the Titans and the Raiders both won. Obviously, the Raiders beat another bye team, the Texans, but they beat them pretty handily. Nice win for me. And I have to say the Lions, although they lost, they played much better on defense than before the bye. And I think that's something you got to take into account. And quite frankly, I mean, if they hadn't fumbled the ball, and they could have went in for the go-ahead score. So, I think the Lions played pretty good, all things considered. So the teams coming out of the bye, or the BRG, the bye return game, the Eagles and Bills drew a good, bad opponents, really. It's a good draw, but bad opponents is at home, both favored by over 10. And the Vikings and Rams both are at home, but facing a couple of decent teams, one looking much better with D. Hopkins back. Any initial thoughts on the bye teams coming back this week, Jeff?
Yeah, I think we got of course, 2 of the better teams in the league coming off a bye against bad teams. I think those are some pretty good betting games.
Even with the highest point spread, Jeff?
Yep. Yeah, I've got those both picked. My spreadsheet says they should have been even higher point spreads. So looking pretty good on both of those.
Okay. So we kick off Sunday with week 8 with the Bears traveling to Dallas to take on the boys. The Cowboys are favored by 9.5. That line moved a point down after the Bears handled Belichick's Pats and that controversy that was caused. And it's interesting, and we missed it, Jeff. And that defense, I think, stood up, and they basically ensured that Belichick didn't beat Paul Salas's record on their watch, and so we should have picked up on that, and I didn't, and I'm upset about that, because that would have probably at least tipped my hand away from betting that game, and I may even went on the Bears, and obviously that showed a lot of strength of that Bears organization. So this game coming up with the Cowboys is the over-under is 42.5. I felt like the quarterback, shook off some of the rust against the Lions. But watching the game, it could have gone the other way, like I said before. And again, the Dallas defense bailed out the offense, forcing some key turnovers and giving them great field position and preventing a go-ahead score. So, the Lions beat the boys in time of possession, and they ran for over 100 yards on the ground. Given that fact, the Bears just gashed the Pats for 243 yards in 37 minutes of time of possession. And I feel like I don't bet these, but I think that's something to watch. But I do think the turf here plays a role as the Cowboys fly to the football. And I think they can shut down on turf that Chicago team. They seem faster on turf than they do on grass. Cowboys defense does. 9.5 seems a lot. And I would probably favor the under here if I were going to bet it. And I think both teams are going to want to establish a run, and I think that eats up clock. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this game? Do you have any bets here?
I do. So when I looked at the analysis, it would lead me to pick Dallas by about 5. So that 9.5, we're talking almost twice the spread I think they should have. So I definitely think that's too high. I'm looking at taking Chicago plus the 9.5. The only concern is if they play Hankins enough, the new defensive tackle that Dallas brought in might help them shore up their run defense. But yeah, I think Dallas has struggled against the run, and this should keep the game close for Chicago.
Is this going to be a free pick, or is it just where to lean into this week?
Not just a regular pick.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's probably a pretty good pick. The only concern I have is that they just completely shut down the Bears offense. We'll see. The Bears offense, they looked a lot different against the Pats, and given the Pats, shut down the Lions and put up 29 on the Lions, that means the Bears beat a decent Pats team. So we'll see there. It's hard to compare apples and oranges, but they are both in the same division. All right, next up, we have the third London game with the Broncos and Jazz facing off in Wembley Stadium. Both teams are 0-4 in the last 4 games, and this is a real doozy for the folks in the UK. I think they need a better game, but they're not going to get one. The Jags are favored by 2.5, and the over-under is a blistering 39. The Jags came off a tough loss to the Giants, and the Broncos lost one to the Jets. I like the Broncos defense, but without Wilson, maybe they get him back this week. I'm not sure if you heard anything. As of when I wrote this, I had not heard anything. And the Russian attack is just not very good, the Broncos. The Jags have the last 3 games in the fourth, lost the last 3 games going into the fourth quarter as they were up or tied. And, that just shows either some questionable play calls. And if I watched that game with the Giants last week, and I felt like there was a couple of questionable calls on the offense. Maybe they could have kicked the field goal, or they could have read a different type of play. But it could also be just a condition issue on part of the Jags. I don't know. But, they played great for 9 quarters, and then they've played really bad for 3 quarters, and they gave away three wins and really the lead in their division. If they would have won those 3 games, then they would be up over the Titans. So I like the over here for my first free pick of 39 points. Jeff, so that's my first free pick. Do you like either of these teams stand out for you?
So when I look at these teams, I would have expected Jacksonville to be favored by more. I would have thought about 6 to 7 points. So it surprised me that they're only favored by 2. They're playing at home. So yeah, I've got a pretty strong bet indicator pointing towards Jacksonville minus the 2.5. Not a free pick, but I'm definitely leaning that way.
Yeah, I just don't think the NFL is gonna allow a team to a game in London to go under 40 points. That's the reason why I'm taking it. It sounds crazy, but I just feel like
Want a little entertainment? Yep.
Yeah, I just feel like there's value there, and it seems like a trap game to me at 39. It seems too low for a away game, but maybe they'll put up another snoozer and a 12 or 16-9 contest. I think the Broncos have lost a couple like that this year. We'll see.
Yep.
But for rookies, for my first free pick, take the Jags in Denver over 39, and let's hope for a good show for the folks at Wembley Stadium. Hey, next we have a key divisional game with the Panthers traveling to face the Falcons. Anyone pick the Panthers last week? Take care of the Bucs. Vegas seems to like the changes in Carolina as the Falcons are favored by 4 at home now. It was 4.5, now it's down to 4, and the over-under is 42. The bottom line, the Falcons were exposed last week by the Bengals and finally lost an ATS bet. Meanwhile, the Panthers trade their best player and likely their best wide receiver and go into Tampa and get it done, which was no one could have picked that one. If you did, again, if you picked all 3 of those games, we will bring you on and have you talk with us. So can the staff keep up and the players keep up that intensity on defense? I don't think so this week. This Falcons O-line is not beat up as bad as the Tampa O-line is beat up, and I think they're going to try to get back on track. Jeff, any value here in this game, Falcons and Panthers?
So I'm a little torn on how to interpret Carolina's last game. They certainly surprised me. I don't know if that was all emotion or if there was some specific change that can carry over. My historical analysis would point towards Atlanta by about 2. So I think the 4 points might be just a little bit much, might lean towards Carolina, but still just not sure. That last week may have been their one shot. They dropped back. So I'm probably staying away from this game this week.
Yeah, I kind of like it. I think the Falcons are going to get it done at home. Hubbard, the backup to McCaffrey, is he's questionable. He got banged up in the game. I think once you see Walker once on tape, you're going to be able to scheme him. I think the Falcons defense are going to be able to scheme him pretty easily, and I think the Falcons take care of business at home. Although I would fade the under just because the Panthers defense has played pretty well this year, even in their losses. So our first interconference game, we have the Dolphins traveling to Detroit to face off against the Lions. The Fins are favored by a field goal, and the over-under is 51.5. Not sure the bookies saw the Lions defense last week with that 51.5 number. They look great against the Cowboys, and I'm not sure the Fins can run the ball like Dallas does. The Dolphins won a snoozer against the Steelers and got Tua back, but he looked rusty. But he will have some practice and probably get back into form after a series of head injuries. And just, I don't know if you saw the tape, but, he was running way aggressive on a couple plays. And I know his coach got onto him about it, but, I'm not sure that kid's going to make it through the season if he keeps running like that. He needs to play less Fran Tarkenton and more, Dan Marino. The number seems high to me. We had several games since that Dolphins-Baltimore game, and the Fins have not put up the numbers they did that game. I like the AFC, but after the Bears beat down, the Pats would fade the Lions at home with the points. Jeff, any value here for you?
So I think the point spread is pretty close. It's about half a point away from where I was going to predict. So I'm going to stay away from that. If I were going to bet this one, I would lean towards the under in this game, because I do think that 51 is a little high given Detroit's made some improvements on their defense. Yeah.
And their offense isn't looking all that spectacular either. And the Dolphins defense is not looking that bad, So this could be a punter's dream, I guess. Field
Yeah.
goal kickers galore here. And they can kick some pretty far, long field goals in the dome too. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of, long field goals. So you got to take that to account, but I just don't see him getting the end zone that much unless, but then that being said, Tyreek Hill gets loose on the secondary and, it's off to the races. So I'm probably staying away from that game as well. Hey, up next, we have the Cardinals traveling to Minnesota to take on the Vikings. The Vikings were favored by 3.5. I think it's down to 3 now, and the over-under is 49. I tend to stay away from 3.5 games. If it drops below 3, 2.5, I take the Vikings at home. But this feels like a trap game. The Vikings are coming off a bye week, but the Cards are also coming off extra rest from Thursday's game. And with D Hopkins back, man, he's a huge difference maker on offense. Now, that being said, Dalton threw 2, pick sixes. So that kind of changed. That was really what changed the Cardinals last week in New Orleans. But I feel like the number of this one goes over 49. And really the first half of the number, I think, goes over 24. So for my, for take the fresh legs and take the over 49 for my second free pick. Jeff, do you like either team here?
So as far as the point spread, I again think we're probably pretty close. Spreadsheet came out at 5, but that was factoring in all of Arizona's games without Hopkins. So when I add back in his point differential, it's pretty close on the points. I was looking at a 49.7 to 50 expected points, even given all the 6 games without Hopkins. So with him back, I would lean towards this going over the 49.
But are you betting this one or not really?
So this one I'm going to stay away from. I'm leaning towards betting the over, if anything, but right now I'm kind of staying away from this one.
Yeah, I'm really intrigued by the Cardinals. They've kind of tickled my fancy a little bit with Hopkins back and the defense getting healthier.
Yep.
Hey, next up, we have the Raiders traveling to New Orleans to face off against the Saints. The Raiders are road favorites. They were road favorites by 2. I think that's dropped to 1 now, and the over-under is 50. The Saints are coming in with extra rest, coming off a Thursday loss to the Cardinals at home. And the Raiders won convincingly last week against the Texans, covering the spread and the over, which were 2 wins for me. So go Raiders. I'm not going there this week, and I don't think the quarterback situation for the Saints is all that good. I mean, Dalton had 2 pick sixes, but then their offense is playing a lot better with him under center. The other thing with the Saints is they can pull out the Taysom Hill show, and so I just don't like this game for the Raiders. Both of the teams are 2-5, and I think the Saints and the Raiders are better than their records. I think the Raiders are 3-4 and the Saints are 2-5, but I think the teams I think are a little bit better than what their records say. I kind of like the Saints getting it done at home, and I would stay away from the number. Jeff, what are your thoughts here?
So I'm actually going to go opposite of you on this one. My spreadsheet says that the Raiders should be about 5.5 point favorites. So when I saw the 1 to 1.5, that definitely looked favorable to me. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Raiders, and I'll give up the 1 to 1.5.
Okay. Free pick or just one of your picks?
Just a regular pick.
Okay. All right. Next up, we have a division rivalry with the Pats traveling to New York to face the Jets. The Pats are favored by 1.5. That may have moved to 2. And the over-under is 40 in the hook. The Jets won a tough one last week, but lost their rookie running back to a season-ending ACL. My heart goes out to Breece Hall, and pray for a quick recovery and full recovery for that emerging star in the league. My gut says Belichick will pull a rabbit out of the hat again against a team he has dominated. The Pats have not lost to the Jets since 2017, an amazing 12-0 in the last 7 years. But I'd stay away from the number. As these games have have gone from 54 to 54-13 to 25-6. So given the loss of Hall and the coach-induced quarterback controversy in New England, 40 seems right, but it could be a lot higher. It's gone a lot higher in the past. Jeff, any value here in this matchup?
Well, without the running back injury, I would have thought this point spread was a huge value because I would think New York, the Jets, should take about a 5.5 point spread into the game, favored. So I really would have been high on them if it weren't for the running back injury. So I'm probably, taking about 2 to 2.5 points away with that injury. Still going to go for the Jets. It's not a free pick, but I'm still thinking the Jets should cover. So I'd take the Jets in the 2.5.
Well, that would be a big win for the Jets if they did, and really set the table for a playoff run as a wild card team if they can get it done at home against the Pats. I'd like to see it from that young squad. I really like this squad, but I don't have the moxie to bet them this week because I just don't. I mean, with Belichick, you just don't know. You don't know, and he is looking for the final win to take him over the hump, and I'm sure he would love to get it against the New York Jets.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So our last noon game, we have the Steelers traveling to Philly in the Battle of Pennsylvania. I don't know if you knew that was a battle, but it is. It dates back to 1933. The Steelers won the last meeting in 2020, 28-29, but the Eagles won the first game in that series, 25-6. Knowing your history going back, right? 1933, not sure many people remember. The Eagles are favored by 10.5, and the over-under is 42.5. With the exception of the 2020 matchup, as I looked at these games, they've tended to be lopsided by either one side and low scoring. And I think that's what we have here again. I think we got one team that's just the best team in the league, and Steelers are not. In years past, has been completely reversed, where the Steelers were the best team, the Eagles were not. But I think we have it with the Eagles. So I don't see a major upset here. I don't think the Eagles coming off a bye are going to get surprised by the Steelers. I think 10.5 points is a lot, but I think this thing goes under. I don't think the Steelers are going to be able to score on the Eagles, and I think the Eagles are pretty much going to do what they've done all year. They're going to get out, they're going to dominate the second quarter, and then they're going to run a ball in the second half and just eat the clock up. Jeff, what are your thoughts here on this game?
Well, I finally get to a free pick for the week. So even without the extra rest, I would have thought Philly would be a 14-point favorite. So you add that extra week of rest, and I think the 10.5 is a pretty easy cover. So definitely going free pick on Philly. The point spread, the over-under is actually right on track. I was predicting 43.2, so I think I'll stay away from that right now. Although I do think the addition of Quinn for the Eagles is probably going to be even a little more motivation and more quarterback pressure. So I would tend to think that they would limit Pittsburgh pretty well on the points. So I'd probably lean under if I were going to. But free pick on Philly.
Free pick on Philly from Jeff. I think that's a good pick. All right, our next 3:00 game, we have the Titans traveling to Houston to take on the Texans. The Titans are road favorites by 2, but that was earlier. I think it's dropped to 1 now. And the over-under is 40 and a hook. Something tells me to stay away from this game. I don't think Vegas trusts the Titans despite their last 4 wins. And all of them could have went the other way, but they didn't. The coach is amazing. The organization is amazing. But the Titans are banged up. They're just banged up despite coming off a bye week. The Titans win by running the ball and forcing turnovers. The Texans lost the Raiders on the road and looked worse coming out of the bye week than going in. I think the Texans can get it done here at home, though. And I think that's what Vegas sees. So I'm staying away. Jeff, does the number seem right to you? Is there any value here? Why are the Titans that are leading this division not coming in as like at least a field goal favors on the road? What do you think?
My spreadsheet, my analysis would say they should be 4-point favorites, even coming in on the road. So not a free pick, but I am going to bet Tennessee on this one.
Yeah, I mean, why do you think Vegas is going this way with the Texans? It doesn't seem right. I mean, it seems, I mean, is there something that we're not seeing?
I mean, the injuries could play a factor in here, but I don't know. It definitely seems like it's off by a few points. So not quite a big enough swing. It's not one of my three largest for the week, but it's a decent bet for me.
Yeah, I guess if I were going to bet this and I'm not, I would probably dig a little deeper into this this game and this rivalry. There might be something there that we're missing or not seeing. All right, next up we have our next interconference game with the Commanders facing off against the Colts. The Colts are favored by a field goal at home, and the over/under is 40. The Commanders last week responded to their quarterback change with a win at home against the Pack, and the Colts lost Matt Ryan last week to a shoulder injury, and I think they're going with the second-year man, Sam. How do you pronounce that? Ehlinger? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Yeah, and he's a quarterback that was drafted in the 6th round out of University of Texas. I watched a couple of his games. Very athletic quarterback. The Colts have had some serious issues in protection. And I think with Ehlinger out on the edge, maybe they can run the ball, open up some more play action, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this guy's game is going to be able to translate to the NFL. You know, the Commanders responded to Heineke's return to lineup. You know, he's a fan and obvious player favorite. So I guess the question is, can Sam be that guy for the Colts? I think they've had 7 or 8 quarterbacks since they lost Luck to retirement early in his career. Haven't had a great track record on that. I do feel like the AFC is better and the Colts are a better team than the Commanders. But they got to stop giving up the football and turnovers. And they got to get back to running the ball like they did last year. I like the over here. 40 seems low with these two guys at quarterback, either making mistakes and putting the other team in advantageous positions, or just being more athletic and just scoring more points because they're more athletic than the guys they replaced. Jeff, do you see any value here in the Commanders and Colts?
So if Heineke had not missed a day of practice this week, which he did miss one day with his thumb, I would definitely say Washington was my favorite because I would have thought it should be a pick'em game. So it's about a field goal difference right now with Indy favored by 3. With Heineke missing a day, I've been waiting to make sure he was healthy and not limited before I bet. So probably going to hold off until right game time to see how the injury report comes out on him. If he's okay, then I would go Washington with the points.
Yeah, do you think the turf in the dome is going to have any effect here on the Commanders?
So it might have a little bit. I also wonder if it's not going to be a little overly emotional for Ehlinger to, first game starting, might make some mistakes early on with the hyped up crowd.
Yeah, that's kind of why I kind of like the over. I see a couple of I see a continuation potentially in both these quarterbacks of putting the other team in an advantageous situation.
Yep.
And if the Commanders give the ball up, inside their own 50, I mean, with Jonathan Taylor, if they can get that running game going, they can score 14 points pretty quick. And it's not hard to get 40 points in the NFL, in my opinion. So I would definitely lean toward the over here. That's going to be a good game to watch. And I think Jeff brings up, I think your point on watching the quarterback situation is really a good one on the injuries. And next, the big divisional rivalry game with the 49ers facing off against the Super Bowl champs, the LA Rams. The 49ers are favored by 1.5, and the over-under here is 43.5. The Rams are coming off a bye week at home, and they're home dogs to a division foe. I guess we know what Vegas thinks of the Rams this year and their ability to repeat. The 49ers added McCaffrey. But it didn't work. It didn't matter last week because they got mauled by the Chiefs. The 49ers have made a living against teams under 500, but not much else. I guess the expectation is McCaffrey and Samuels will be a 1-2 punch to get them over the edge. But I think there's injury concerns of Samuels, and McCaffrey's had injury problems in the past. We'll see if this trade actually works out for the 49ers. This team needs their week off. And they need the 49ers need the bye week in week 9. So they got to play the Rams and they go on bye week. If I were to bet this game, I would like the team coming off a bye week. I don't know that they're a better football team, but I just think the 49ers are coming in banged up. Jeff, any thoughts on this game?
Well, I would say they're much more banged up than the Rams. They have won 4 of the last 5 now, I think, head to head. And the only one they lost last year was that end of season where the Rams had to come back in the 4th quarter to even make the playoffs to go on their Super Bowl run. So San Francisco is really matched up well against the Rams. My analysis says they should be about a 4 to 4.5 point favorite. So I think it only one. I'm going to lean towards San Francisco in this one.
Okay. I have a hard time betting against the Super Bowl champs at home to a division rivalry. I'll probably stay away from this game. I don't trust the 49ers. I mean, I got burned on them when they went on the road to Atlanta. And like I said, they're making a living against teams under 500, but not much else. The Chiefs, I watched that game. The Chiefs mauled them, just absolutely mauled them on the gashed them left and right with their running attack. So, but the Rams can't run the football this year, so we'll have to see how that one plays out. Next up, we have a key matchup of I can't even believe I'm saying this. 2 of the NFC's strongest teams, with the Giants traveling to face the Seahawks. You think we would have been saying this in week 1? I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. The Hawks are favored by 3 and the over-under is 45. The Hawks got it done last week on Geno's arm and rookie running back Walker's legs. Man, he looked great. The Giants also got it done on the road, winning yet another one in the 4th quarter, a trade of this football team, this well-coached, good organization, good defense football team. Really, I hate to say it about the Giants, but you got to give props where they lie. Looks like there's going to be some rain for this game, but I'm not sure it's going to affect either team. As the game time temperature will be in the 50s. I think this is the game of the week. I have a hard time believing the Giants team will continue to close out teams in the 4th quarter, but the Hawks are a team that can be closed out in the 4th quarter. So I kind of like the Giants in the points and would fade the under. Jeff, any value here for you?
Coming up with my second free pick. So my analysis says that the Giants should be the 3-point favorite instead of Seattle. So I think you're getting almost a 6-point swing in this one. So I'm going to free pick on the Giants plus 3 points.
I've seen a lot of folks betting this thing and picking the Giants against the Hawks at home. So you heard it here. Jeff's going to go with the Giants as a free pick. I like them too, getting the 3 points. I don't like them for a free pick, but you got 2 here that are saying go Giants. Of course, we said that on the pass last week and got burned. So let's hope that doesn't happen again. And next up, we have the Packers traveling to face off against the Buffalo Bills. I'm sure when the NFL scheduled this game, it was a potential Super Bowl preview, but I'm not even sure the Pack even make it to the playoffs this year. They are playing bad, and the recent comments by the quarterback make me think the locker room may be lost. They're a team that is built to run the football, and in the last 3 losses, they've only run the football 42 total times. So they're built to run the football, but they're not running it. It's not that the Packers don't have answers. It's not just that the Packers don't have answers. I'm not even sure they know what questions are going to fix their woes. And the Bills are coming off extra rest and looking to get their 5-1 record to 6-1, with the emerging Jets coming in hot on their tails in the division. The Bills are favored by 12. Has that changed? Has that gone up or down? I'm not sure. And this was up Tuesday, and the over-under is 47 and a hook.
I
This
had
is
it
an
at 11 and a
insane.
half, but it's close.
Yeah, what's the number now, Jeff?
I had 11 and a half, but
11 and a half. Look, this is just an insane number. And my gut says take the Packers and the 11 and a half. I just can't believe I would even say this in this week, but I think the Pack could get beat by 2 touchdowns here easily. And if there's anyone that's going to do it, it could be the Bills. I would fade the under here if the Packers do compete in this game, they're going to compete through running the football. But even that I don't trust because I think the Bills can put up 41 points on the Packers defense the way they've been playing. So I'm staying away. Jeff, do you like either team here?
well, because our last game had an injury change, I have made this my third free pick because it was number 4 on my list. I do think the Buffalo spread should be about 14 to 14 and a half. So the fact that it's 11 and a half to 12 gives me a little bit of cushion. So I'm taking Buffalo minus the points on this one for a third free pick.
Wow. I can't believe we're making anyone's making that. That's such a gutsy call, Jeff. It's such a gutsy call.
Yeah.
He is a iconic quarterback. Just gets it done, but I don't blame you. I mean, they just have looked bad all. They've looked unbettable the last couple games, but yeah, you heard it here. Third free pick for the rookies. Jeff says take the Bills plus 11 and a half. I think you're going to have a lot of company with you on that one. All right, for my third free pick, take Joe to get it done against the Browns. That was going to be my answer, but it's not anymore. The Bengals are road favorites by a field goal, and the over/under is 47. We finally saw Joe Burrow get it done with the Bengals offense from last year, from the last week against the Falcons, and the Browns lost a close one at home to the Ravens. So I don't see them getting it. I didn't see it being this close, but we just saw that Chase is out. So I can't bet the Bengals without Chase. So I'm changing my pick, and I'm saying take the Browns and the field goal at home for my third free pick. Jeff, any team here you like?
Well, before the injury news on Chase, I was going to go with my third free pick on Cincinnati, because I thought they should have been about an 8.5 point favorite before. With Chase out, I would say he's a 3 to 4 point difference maker. So that puts me right down into that 4 point spread. So it's probably not one I'm going to lean strongly either way. Probably even stay away from this one because I'm within half a point of what Vegas is saying. So it's become close on me.
Yeah, I like the Browns at home without Chase. I think that offense is going to struggle, and the Browns have played a lot of close games and close enough to where I would take them with the 3. All right, that's my third free pick. Jeff, it's been a weird year. So in weird years, I have a weird bet. And I got to take the Arizona Cardinals plus 800 to win the NFC West. I think I'd put about a quarter unit bet on it. So that'd be like $25. I don't trust the Seahawks. And after the Chiefs beat down the 49ers, I feel like McCaffrey's probably going to end up getting hurt, and that's going to be a no win or no value trade that they made. I just don't see the 49ers getting it done this year, and the Rams look terrible. I think with D-Hop back, I think Arizona, puts the pedal down. I don't know if they put it down this week against the Vikings, although I almost took them this week as an upset, and I may still, but I like them. And then I would put a tenth down on them to win the NFC, and I'd put a 10th down on them to play in the Super Bowl and win it. Both of those bets are plus 4,000 and plus 8,000. You got to remember where the Super Bowl is. It's in Tempe. So if my trend is right, we had Tampa Bay winning at home in 2000. We had the Rams winning last year in 21. I think the NFL would love to see the Cardinals win it in 22 in Tempe. What do you think, Jeff?
I think that'd be fun to see Kyler Murray yelling at his coach in the Super Bowl to calm the F down.
Yeah.
You did
Well, there
see him
wasn't as
coming up.
much. Yeah, there's gonna be some of that. There's gonna be some of that yelling and screaming, but that's good. You gotta have some competitiveness.
That's right. He's feisty.
Both of them are.
Yes, that's true.
Both of them are feisty, and I like the way they fought back against the Saints. Now they got to play better defense, and I think their defense has got to get healthy. If they get James Conner back from the rib injury, I think that helps. But I think it's worth a couple of. I think it's worth a couple of small quarter, tenth unit bets on a couple flyers. I like that, and I still like my Micah Parsons MVP bet, although he didn't play that great against the Lions. I mean, not when I say great, he plays great every game, but it wasn't like spectacular great, right? Like
Right.
he was,
And
in
not the
first couple
stats
years.
to show up to voters.
Right. And that's the problem with the defensive player. You got to just get the stats, and their defense is so good and everyone plays so well that he may never get all the stats that he needs to compete for the MVP, although he certainly is the defensive most valuable player of the league for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Jeff, what do you like this week? Anything?
Well, I'm just anxious to see if the overs can start making more of a comeback. The low scoring has still dominated this year. I've been listening to a lot of theories. I think it's because of the just flooding the defensive secondary, keeping the passing game down, forcing teams to dink and dunk and run. So I don't know if offenses are going to be able to figure it out in time to start bringing the point scoring back up. So I just continue to monitor that because I don't know how long it'll take offenses to figure it out and start scoring again.
Yeah, and the problem with the dink and dunk, Jeff, is it exposes your wide receivers to injuries. Because you cannot tell a pro football wide receiver to catch a 5-yard pass and then just go to the ground and get 5 yards. He's going to try to get 20, and more than likely they're going to get banged up. I'll tell you, if a team can figure that out though, where they dink and dunk and just people, the wide receivers start sliding in and not take those hits, and not get the damage over the season from those hits.
Or the turnovers.
Exactly. Because you see a lot of those turnovers from those low hits that these guys, the Cowboys game, you saw that a lot. Those guys were going for their knees.
Yep. Right? Doing a flip and fumble in the air. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. That's what they're doing. So if a guy's catching those and then immediately going to the ground, well, first off, the chances are that someone comes in and gets a targeting call that goes way up because the defenses would hate this. I mean, they would absolutely hate it, right? No one likes that. But that would be a way for offenses, in my opinion, to counteract what we're seeing on the defensive side of the ball. I also think that rule change has something to do with it, Jeff. I don't know. I mean, it just seems like, but the problem for the league is quite frankly, it's been a boring year.
Yes.
It's just been a snooze fest. And, you don't like to say, no one wants to see that.
Yeah, the league will address that. They do not want ratings to dip because of boring games.
Right. So that's my bets, guys. Let me go back over them real quick for you. I've got the Browns +3 at home. I've got the over on the London game of 39. If you can get it at 38.5, it'll probably dip there. Better to take it there. And then my last free pick was, I think I said I was going to write these down, but I didn't. My last free pick, and I like a lot of these games. Jeff, do you remember what my last free game was?
So I was wondering, I only caught two when you were going through. I thought I missed one when we were going through.
Did I not give one?
I only heard two. So maybe I missed it.
Wow. I only have 2 free picks. Wow. Yeah, I only have 2 free picks this week, guys. I can't give you more. I don't have, my gut tells me, there's a couple of games my gut tells me, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in them. All right, Jeff, what are your
So-
free picks?
I'll run back over mine, and when you see the big point spreads, no, those are my free picks. I've got Philly minus 10.5 over Pittsburgh. Of course, I had Buffalo minus 11.5 over Green Bay. And then the other one was, I like the Giants against Seattle plus the points.
Oh, I know what my second free pick was, and I probably didn't enunciate it. It's not real obvious. I took the over on the Cardinals and Minnesota game.
Oh, okay,
Yep, so over on the Cardinals, Minnesota, take the Browns +3 and take the over on the Broncos and the Jags in London.
very good. Yeah, well, hopefully we'll break 500 this week. That I was doing well until the last couple of games, both lost. I thought I was going to be well over.
All right, and then rookies, be looking for some shorts coming out. I think Jeff and I, we're going to meet in a couple of weeks, and we're going to do some more, look at our technology, look at our products, and get a little bit of that cleaned up and get some shorts going. So you can see our picks a lot quicker, and you don't have to go through all of our analysis here, because sometimes it can get a little dry, I guess.
Maybe not dry, but long.
Long.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Jeff, have a good week. Rookies, good luck. We'll see you next week.